Desperate Mother Bear loses hope of saving her son until unexpected heroes appear. This is the heartwarming story of terror, heroism, and kindness. This story shows there is always an unspoken bond of family. That inside of every stranger lies the capacity to be compassionate. That kindness doesn't always go from person to person, but it can also go toward our furry friends. Sometimes those who need the most help are the ones we're most afraid to help. It's unclear as to why, but the mother bear took her cubs to the side of the water, looking for food, a place to sleep. Nobody's entirely sure why she did it. For whatever reason, the mother decided to dive into the water. This started an adventure which put not only her life, but also that of her cubs, too, in danger. Fishermen rescued two drowning wild brown bear cubs in a Russian lake with video footage showing the remarkable affinity between the beast and man. The heartwarming film and pictures highlight how the frightened bear placed their total faith in the tourists in a boat on Lake Vaygazero in the Karelia region of northern Russia. In the footage, thought to have been taken last month, the wild animals had lost their mother crossing the lake after she overestimated their swimming abilities. The cubs were literally sinking and would have perished without the quick-thinking intervention of the Russian tourists. The eyes and expressions of one of the bears showed utter fear and desperation, instinctively knowing only the fishermen could save them. Ruslan Lukanin from Moscow said they had swum across the lake with their mother, but she overestimated her strength and swam away. The cubs began to sink. We picked them up and dragged them to the island to which their mother had swum. It was dangerous, of course, but they're living creatures. We couldn't just look the other way. Extraordinary images show the light-faced cub seemingly pleading the fishermen to save it, with the tourists wanting to help but conscious that they were rescuing wild animals that could also attack them. The second bear, with the dark face, is lifted out of the lake too, and carried on netting on the boat, totally exhausted from the ordeal in the water. The men took them to one of 500-plus islands on the lake, where their mother had swum, evidently unaware of the desperate plight of her offspring. Ready to drop, the cubs had to be helped into the forest. They were too weak to walk by themselves, said one of the fishermen. They took the bears into the trees, hoping that their neglectful mother would find them and help them recover. In the end, there was only one thing to do. The fisherman decided to pick the cub up with his own hands. The fisherman wasn't only at risk of getting bit by the bear. If he leaned too far forward, he could fall in the water. Falling in the water with two panicking bear cubs would surely mean the end of his life. The men could only hope that the bears would work with them. If that wasn't the case, their rescue attempt would not end well. The men only had to reach their arms out to help. They were just about to start the dangerous plan when they suddenly got an idea. While they had good intentions, the bear could still panic. That would mean a catastrophic end to their plan. Now they just had to find a way to calm the bears down once they got them on the boat. Once the men got going, they realized just how heavy the bear cub is. With all their might, they attempted to get the cub into the boat. They should be thankful that the cubs were still young. Did you know that the average full-grown bear weighs around 590 kilos? No fisherman could handle that, and the fishing nets definitely couldn't either. After a long and hard fight, they finally got the smaller bear on the boat. It cost them lots of time, but they were one step closer to reaching their goal. The first save wasn't reason enough to celebrate. They still had one more cub to save from the water, and they were running out of time. The cub had already sunk under the water a few times, and it was using up all its energy just trying to stay afloat. On top of that, the boat had drifted, and they had to steer back to the other cub to save it. This time the men were more confident. One bear was already on the boat, so a second one shouldn't be a problem. They knew that it would still be difficult, but they were ready. Thank God the second one seemed to be a lot easier. They used the same technique to get the cub on board as they did for its brother, and this time it went a lot more smoothly. It cost the fishermen almost all their energy, but they finally got both cubs in the boat. Exhausted, they looked at the result of their actions. The bears were breathing hard, focusing their eyes on the fishermen. In the meantime, they started to wonder, what are we going to do with these cubs? It was time for the fishermen to make a choice. They felt a close bond with the cubs and thought it might be a good idea to adopt them, but was that wise? There was just one more question. In the heat of the moment, they had lost sight of the mother. They weren't sure where she had gone. Where was she exactly? The men knew that this was the most dangerous moment of their plan. Once they'd gotten the boat on land, they tried to carefully get the cubs out. With their backs to the bear, the men got back in their boat, and while they were trying to start the motor, they heard the bear getting closer. Their hearts pounded as they drove off from the shore.